I hope you are sound and safe at home. In the last class, we have seen the basic things about sociolinguistics. We try to understand about sociolinguistics as a branch of linguistics. When did it emerge? What were the factors that were responsible for the emergence of sociolinguistics? What are the contradictory views that have been held by so many linguists? So on and so forth. So today we are just going to address sociolinguistics in a very wider dimension. Previously we have understood that sociolinguistics is the study of language in relation to society. And there have been many linguists like William Lebov, J.R. Furr. They emphasized that the study of language cannot be complete without taking into account its social orientation. So friends, today we are going to understand the relationship between language and society. Language has a social function, as we all have understood. It does help us to establish and maintain relationships. It conveys information about the speaker. There are two important aspects that are considered in sociolinguistics: the social relationships and the clue bearing. It does also take into account the study of language behavior. So when we get into the society, we exhibit our social relationships. That is also taken into account in the study of sociolinguistics. And pertaining to clue bearing, in which we attempt to study how people belonging to different social and geographic backgrounds use language. There have been certain terms that have been quite contradictory, quite confusing in the study of sociolinguistics. The concepts called language and dialect. What is a regional dialect and social dialect? The labels like Marathi, Hindi, French, German. For instance, Marathi is spoken by a person from Pune and Marathi being spoken by a professor of Marathi are the same. The concern of the dialect and accent is also taken into account. But we do not have any clear-cut boundaries through which we can differentiate these different terms. And there is a language continuum. For example, German and Dutch, spoken along the Netherlands and Germany frontier. So there have been certain criteria to language. The linguistic criteria that dwells on mutual intelligibility and language. For example, Dutch and German. Political and cultural criteria. Scandinavia, ethno-culturally not Germanic, has mutually intelligible languages like Norwegian, Danish and Swedish. Language is very closely tied up with the social structure and the value systems of society. Therefore, different dialects and accents are evaluated in different ways. For example, noun pre-vocalic r in car, cart in England is not considered prestigious, whereas in New York, according to American English, it is prestigious. Along with this, value judgments also play a crucial role. They are arbitrary and they are based on social connotations. The subjective attitudes towards language are important for the study of language change. They explain why dialects change, how do they change. For example, the consonant R in New York. The use of non-pre-vocalic R by upper middle class in New York is considered prestigious. In this context, William Lebov carried out a study how this accent differs from society to society, from class to class. Lebov's study of Mars vineyard, house, mouse, owl, the diphthong, that he considered them and asserted that subjective attitudes towards a negative linguistic form, they're quite favorable or unfavorable. Linguistic change is not always in the direction of a prestigious form. So when we are considering the relationship between language and society, we have to concentrate on the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, without which we cannot continue the study of sociolinguistics. According to it, the effect of society on language is considered, how physical environment is reflected in language, how the social environment is reflected in language, how the kinship terms occupy a significant position in the society, and the values of society, they do affect the language. For example, we all witness various taboo words, the word but not the concept. Language is variable. It's not used in the same manner by all people in all situations. In the study of sociolinguistics, we come across various key terms that define the certain things about a certain area. In the study of sociolinguistics, we come across a term called variety. Variety, when we take into its denotation, is a neutral term that refers to any form of language that does refer to languages, that does also refer to the dialect as well. Another term that we often come across in sociolinguistics is speech community. This concept is quite controversial, but we can build out a clear-cut definition that a speech community is a community of people who share a linguistic variety as their own, and they share the social norms. They share the linguistic norms, they share the communicative norms, the communicative competence, and the shared social norms, whether it is a city, a neighborhood, a region, a nation, etc. One more important term that comes into picture in the study of sociolinguistics, that is communicative competence. So communicative competence is the speaker's underlying knowledge of rules of grammar and rules for their use in socially appropriate circumstances. It is a learned language through socialization. Often when we get into formal situations, we are polite and we make use of certain expressions like please, thank you. We greet the people formally, and in informal situations we also greet the people informally as well. So the social knowledge is essential for the membership in speech community. The boundaries between such speech communities are social rather than linguistic. Speech community is different from language community. For example, Papua New Guinea Mutual Intelligibility, Gaelic and English communities in Scotland. They rely mostly on their communicative competence, that is the shared norms of interaction in the community. Can we claim the existence of homogeneous speech community with the attested heterogeneity in cities and countries? So variation and language. Now what is the relationship between variation and language? We need to know what are variables. So variables are an abstract representation of the source of variation released by two or more variables. For example, consider the pronunciation think, th, think, th, 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 and f. The variables are the actual realization of a variable. There are some constraints on variation. There are some linguistic constraints. There are some social factors. All these determine the use of variables. So variation is predictable but not with 100% certainty. Le Bon. Another term that comes in the viewport of the study of sociolinguistics is multilingualism. What is multilingualism? So multilingualism is a use of more than two languages. For example, Nigeria, India, Philippines have hundreds of languages. Canada, United States of America. How these multilingual nations develop? They develop due to migration. They develop due to imperialism. They develop due to federation. So diglossia, what is diglossia? It is a situation in which two forms of the same language coexist in a complementary relationship in a society. We often come across the terms like high variety, low variety, but both the forms are grammatically distinct. They do not overlap. So every variety of language has its domains. For example, Arabic. We have a classical Arabic, we have vernaculars. And all of these are dialects. The term is extended to refer to any two languages, even the related ones that has this kind of social and functional distribution. So polyglossia, this is a term that several high and low languages coexist in a complex multilingual society. For example, Singapore, whereas the low and high variety and medium varieties coexist. Mandarin, Tamil, Malaya. In India, these are the official languages. Which languages will be officially or nationally recognized in a multilingual society? There are some dimensions. The dimension of vitality, and this in terms of demographic, social, and institutional strength of language and speakers. Other terms like language planning, language policies, multilingual communities. Let us come to a very interesting concept of sociolinguistics called code switching and code mixing. The alternation between two varieties across sentences or close boundaries. It implies some degree of competence in two varieties, even if The bilingual fluency is not as stable. So, code switching, we can understand it is the switching of one linguistic code to another linguistic code in the course of communication. We often listen to the interviews of the film stars, the celebrities, the people from show business. In their communication, they often switch over from one linguistic code to another linguistic code. The question comes to mind, what determines code switching? What are the determinant factors of code switching? The domain based or situational code switching is one of them. Domain in terms of social and physical setting. The addressee, the person that we talk to, the person whom we address to. Interlocutor. And there are some constraints. Switching taking place between the languages with similar structure. So code mixing is an alteration within a clause or a phrase. Spanglish is a mixture of Spanish and English. In India it is English. It is a mixture of Hindi and English. Array busy. So motivations and functions for a switch between codes. So attitude towards code switching and code mixing, they are stigmatized or they are favorable because of ethnic identity. Let us try to understand some more concepts of sociolinguistics. The terms are called style, context, and register. Style. It is quite rampant in our day-to-day situations. We often use the word without having any clear understanding about it. So style in the most general sense refers to distinctive way of speaking or writing. People adopt different styles in different contexts. The influence of addressing on the speaker's language. In this particular course of communication, what matters most is the social proximity. Linguistically and sociolinguistically, it is called solidarity. The solidarity between the participants in the given situation, in the given communication. It could be casual, relaxed, vernacular forms with friends. And on the contrary, we also have certain usages where we prescribe, where we use, where we apply the standard forms, dealing with the strangers, dealing with the people who are superior to us. So there are many factors that affect social distance, solidarity between people. So what are the factors that affect the speaker's style? There are many factors, out of which one of them, which is considered quite impressive, is the age of the addressee. If we are interacting with the people or the person who is of lower age, so naturally we take liberty and we talk to him or her in a very casual, in a very friendly manner. If we come across a child, elderly, adult, so these are all situational. No? The second important factor that affects the speaker's style is the social background of the addressee. Peter Trugill, interviewing people in Norway, use of term in better, bet, he concentrated on. The glottal stop used up to 90% with lower class interviewees, and with higher class, 25% of the speakers, according to Trugill, used the drop to 30%. He was accommodating to his interviewees. Next important factors that affects speaker style is relative status and solidarity between the speaker and the addressee. The colloquial style, what we call vernacular, the social dialect survey in New York, wherein Lebon elicited the vernacular as a style in which minimum attention is given to the monitoring of the speech. The next term to consider is register. It is an occupational style. The term is often considered as a jargon which a group of specialists develop to talk about their specialty. Journalists, legalese, sports commentators, etc. The speech accommodation theory. The notion of accommodation developed from the work of Howard Guy and is accessible. Speakers tend to change the way they are speaking depending on who they are talking to. Speakers may converge, they modify speech to sound or similar, diverge, motivation, upward conservance, short-term accommodation, dialect contact zones. So reaction to speech convergence and divergence depend on the reason people attribute for the convergence or the divergence. The deliberate divergence will be heard as antagonistic or uncooperative. Language contact and dialect leveling. What is that? The language contact and dialect leveling. The reduction of differences distinguishing regional dialects or accents are what we call the language sector. The result of mobility in the 20th century social changes affected largely the local dialect diversity, which characterized the regions for hundreds of years. There have been other factors like immigration, urbanization, globalization, new towns being situated. All such things affected this language change, language contact. The outcome of close daily contact is what we consider is the leveling out of differences. So friends, we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow in the next lecture with some more concepts of sociolinguistics. Goodbye.